Let me ask you something you probably haven't heard before. In medieval times, every kingdom had two kinds of weapons: the ones they paraded around to intimidate their neighbours, and the ones they kept hidden, locked away from prying eyes. The secret weapons, those were the true game-changers, the tools that could tip the balance of power overnight. These hidden weapons weren't just for show. They were the result of years of innovation, trial and error, and sometimes pure desperation. In the shadows of stone walls and behind guarded doors, inventors and craftsmen worked tirelessly, often risking their lives to create something no enemy had ever seen. If you appreciate the kind of knowledge soldiers actually relied on, make sure you're subscribed. There's a lot more coming. Take the trebuchet. Most people know it as a giant catapult, but that's just the surface. The first time a trebuchet appeared on a battlefield, it was like unleashing a force of nature. Chronicles tell of entire garrisons surrendering at the mere sight of one, convinced it was the work of sorcery. This was a machine so powerful, its secrets were guarded tighter than royal vaults. In some kingdoms, revealing the plans for a trebuchet to a foreigner was punishable by death. Kingdoms didn't just protect gold, they protected blueprints, craftsmen, and the precise know-how to build these engines of war. The best engineers were treated like national treasures, sometimes even kidnapped or bribed by rival lords. Because if their rivals got hold of that knowledge, it could be the end of a dynasty overnight. There are stories of spies disguised as wandering monks, slipping into workshops to steal secrets, or of traitors selling out their own for a pouch of silver. See, medieval engineers understood power in ways even kings didn't. They were the unsung masterminds, blending science, mathematics, and a bit of luck to create weapons that could change the fate of nations. When we picture battles, we think of knights and castles. But the real war was often fought in the minds of those who could outthink, outbuild, and outmaneuver the enemy. Behind every victory were carpenters, mathematicians, and rope-makers whose skills made or broke entire sieges. Their hands shaped the future, one timber, one calculation at a time. Trebuchets weren't just thrown together. Building one required expert knowledge in physics and materials. The length of the arm, the weight of the counterbalance, the tension in the ropes, every detail mattered. Lose an engineer to the enemy, and you risk losing your technological edge. There are tales of engineers spirited away in the night, never to be seen again, their knowledge lost or worse, turned against their homeland. That's why detailed plans almost never made it to paper. Secrets were kept in the minds of trusted masters, passed down only to apprentices who had proven their loyalty. Ideas were passed down like family secrets, and a clever rival would pay dearly for just a glimpse at a new design. In the courts of Europe, rumours of a new weapon could spark panic, alliances, or betrayal. Knowledge was lighter than iron, but 10 times as dangerous. A single innovation could render an entire army obsolete. And here's the twist. Trebuchets weren't just about smashing walls. They could hurl diseased carcasses, burning pitch, or even messages over enemy lines, turning the tide of a siege in unexpected ways. In the right hands, they could end a siege before it started. There's a legend of a French commander who, upon seeing a new type of trebuchet, surrendered his fortress without a fight, convinced he couldn't withstand its power. Imagine rolling up with a machine no one expected, one that could launch a 200-pound stone over a fortress wall. The shock and awe were as much a weapon as the stones themselves. Suddenly, defenders are negotiating, surrendering, or running for the hills. The psychological impact of these secret weapons was immense. That fear, it was often worth more than the machine itself. A well-timed rumour about a new weapon could break an enemy's will before the first stone was ever thrown. Secrecy became its own strategy. The less the enemy knew, the more they imagined, and the more they feared. Some kingdoms built fake trebuchets out in the open, while the real deal took shape in hidden workshops. Workers swore oaths. Engineers travelled under guard. In some cases, decoy weapons were left in plain sight to mislead enemy scouts. Even the wood deliveries were disguised to keep enemy spies guessing. Logs were marked as firewood, and shipments arrived at night, all to keep the true purpose hidden. At the right moment, the real trebuchet would appear, sometimes from a forest or ravine, shocking defenders into panic. The element of surprise was as carefully engineered as the machines themselves, and trebuchets weren't the only secret weapons. The Byzantines wielded Greek fire, a mysterious flaming liquid that could burn even on water. Its formula was so closely guarded that it was lost to history, never rediscovered. In China, inventors developed repeating crossbows and early gunpowder bombs centuries before Europe caught up. These innovations spread slowly, often through espionage or captured engineers. You see, medieval warfare wasn't crude chaos. It was a chess match, with every move calculated, every secret weapon a potential checkmate. Siegecraft was a science. The best commanders were part general, part scientist, always searching for the next advantage. Crews adjusted ropes for humidity, shifted weights for range, and treated these machines like living systems. A single miscalculation could mean disaster or victory. These weren't just big slingshots. They were evolving platforms, and their crews were specialists, not just random soldiers. Some crews even developed their own secret signals and codes to coordinate under fire. Espionage was everywhere. Spies traded coded messages, and double agents sold secrets to the highest bidder. The battle for information was as fierce as any clash of swords. The real lesson here? The greatest weapon wasn't always made of wood or iron, it was the mind behind the innovation. It's about how people solve problems under pressure. The best ideas often came from the most unexpected places. A carpenter's clever knot, a scholar's forgotten formula, a blacksmith's new alloy. Medieval engineers broke down huge challenges into small, manageable steps. They tested, failed, and tried again, always pushing the limits of what was possible. Survivalists today study them, not to build trebuchets, but to learn how to lead, plan, and adapt in tough situations. The principles of secrecy, innovation, and teamwork are timeless. So if you crave the stories behind the stories, the mechanics, the secrets, the forgotten minds that change history, you're not alone, you're in the right place. There's a whole world of hidden history waiting to be uncovered. Hit subscribe, share this with a fellow history buff, and get ready to uncover the real engines behind empires. The next secret weapon might just be a story away.